What's up, social media?
Hey, what's going on out there? I'm Jermaine Wright, your LPC.
I'm Doug Tillman.
And this is
the Crashout Report.
All right, so today we have a really interesting one for you. For all my educators out there, working in the educational world, I think this one going to hit on you. I think this one going to hit with you a little bit differently.
Okay, so this is very interesting. So this is involving an adult.
Yeah, an adult could be a teacher, could be a faculty member. The caption says teacher, but I don't know, unless it's dress down day, I don't know. You don't typically see, teachers that relaxed with walking around with football jerseys on, but maybe if it's Spirit Week or something like that. But we have an educator or somebody working in the education field, and they're having a very intense interaction with apparently a student.
Yeah.
So we want to give y'all some guidance on this, some insight. We want to review this joint, and then we would love to hear y'all feedback on it. After me and Doug are done reviewing it.
Classic clash of the generations, huh? So check this out.
I'm talking to y'all. That's who I'm talking to. Nah, you know me. You know me, and you know I ain't for the games. Stop talking to me, Gayana. Call your daddy then. Tell your daddy to come up here and talk to me then. You, stop talking to me. No, I'm telling you, stop talking to me. Tell your daddy to come talk to me. Tell your daddy to come talk to me. Nah, go dig him up and tell him to come talk to
me. Okay, so when the argument between an adult and a child kicks off, it's going to go all kinds of ways because it's a clash of the generations. One generation communicates one way, another generation communicates another way, and there's bound to be a clash when things get terse.
Yeah, maybe right. I think what we see, right. I don't know if it's necessarily a gender, because I've had the opportunity being a middle-aged man in my mid-40s. I've had plenty of respectful interactions, with the younger generation, the Gen Z generation, millennial generation, where, but I think also not only does your own character and disposition play a role, in how you interact with people, but I also think the other part of that is that, we have structural breakdowns that create these type of clashes. Yeah. Not so much about generation, but it's about the cultural and structural dynamics of the environment that creates a recipe for these types of clashes.
Yeah. So yeah, in this situation, I don't think you have the classic interaction between an adult and a child, because this is out in the open. This is out in public. Yep. People are inciting other people to say different things. Yep. They're performing in front of other people, and this is what happens when you have a bunch of kids.
It's a power struggle, right? And I think it comes from a place, especially when we look at some of what happens with some of our most talented individuals. Yeah. And you got into this field for a certain reason, and then you're consistently asked to take on all these things that cause weight. You got to be a therapist. You got to be a behavioral analyst. You got to parent these kids. Yeah. At what point do you just get to focus on the core of what you're supposed to do, is just teach math?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not here to do all that. I'm here to just teach math, and I got to deal with this kid that's possibly in my space. Now, I do agree, as an adult and as somebody who probably has some degree of training, you got to handle things better. But I think sometimes you just get to a point where within the culture, it's normalized that, hey, you got to be this type of way with these kids because that's what they relate to.
But that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a classroom when you have anywhere from 10 to 30 different students, things can go left real quick. Yeah. And it's just one student, one goofy comment that makes everybody laugh. Now, everything hinges on your response, right? Yeah. And you got to be cool, because if they sense that you get angry, then this could escalate real quick.
I think we both got to be cool, though. I think we got to stop. think an adult has a greater degree of responsibility, but it doesn't mean a child doesn't have any responsibility. And it looks like in this situation, we are dealing with a child who is old enough to know better. Yeah. And I think there has to be some degree of accountability where, you know, if somebody is telling you, he's saying that I'm at my limit, you need to go ahead. You need to go ahead. That doesn't make it okay for him to say what he said, but you definitely need to stop picking, because, and part of the reason why I'll emphasize on that, because then that'll happen to a peer. Right. And then with a peer, that's much more likely to turn into something else than it is with an adult.
Yeah. And as things can escalate in a open environment like that, you don't know where things go if it was in another situation when there was no cameras around or there's nobody else around. I don't think that kid would be responding to that adult the same way if it was one-on-one.
No, and what if structurally, right, we got back to a space of saying like, hey, all right, listen, if you are having a difficult time with an adult, like, and I think you and I, we probably told our kids this, come get an adult. I don't want you going back and forth with an adult. So go get someone who can support you in advocating for whatever it is that you need to advocate for, because you being in this situation where you're going back and forth, there's a disproportionate power dynamic there. So why are you doing it?
Yeah. It's not a win situation for you. And, you know, there was a saying for kids a long time ago that kids are to be seen and not heard.
Yeah. And I agree that every child should have a voice. Every person should have a voice. But I think, you know, how you exercise that voice is equally as important as having that voice. You have a personal responsibility to make sure you're exercising that voice in a proper way. And that's what we need to be teaching our children, because that's where I think that power struggle comes from, with saying, well, just because I'm a child, you know, doesn't mean, you know, you're taking away my voice. No, you can have a voice, but we need to do this in a structured way so that we're not stepping outside of the guidelines of what should occur in any given setting, right, that's worth anything. There's going to be structure. If you're in the military, yes, you can have a voice, but you can't just waltz into the colonel's office by yourself and say whatever you want to say. Things in life don't work that way.
No, but, you know, that's why they're kids. Yeah. They're still learning. Yeah. They don't get things until you tell it to them. And then when you tell it to them, they still have to see it and observe it to understand the fullness of what you're saying.
Yep. And that's where I think the onus is on the educator, right? Because that's what you need to do. You need to, now, I don't, you know, being in the field, you know, and working in a variety of different settings, man, I think you've done that. I think he might be to a point where maybe this person needs a break, or you just need to transfer or something like that, because maybe you've gone through protocol, you've talked to the principal, you've talked to parents. And that's what I was talking about, where I say the culture permeates this type of, you know, perpetuates this type of behavior. And it's like, all right, well, if that's what it is, that's what it is.
And it escalates on comment upon comment upon comment. And that last comment, when the kid said, my father's dead. And the teacher said, well, go dig him up. Well, you know, everybody's not ready for certain comments, you know, and certain things are incendiary, you know, comments that could be made that you never know what the trip plug is.
But I want to humanize the educator, because they, you know, it's a really difficult job and they go through a lot. And you don't really hear, or you hear what he says, but you don't hear a lot of what was said to that person, right? So, like, I would be curious to know, well, what even got you to that limit where you said something like that? Because, you know, as the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. And I think there's something going on, because he's also saying, well, you know me, right? So it sounds like there, at some point, there was some degree of relationship. So if you know me and you know who I am at my core, I think he's hurt, and because I'm hurt, I'm trying to hurt you back.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder, you know, should you be a teacher if you got hurt feelings? Because kids will come at you all kinds of ways, and they might touch that nerve. And now you're coming back to hurt them.
I'm going to say personally, just speaking for myself, my child ain't ever allowed to say anything hurtful to a teacher. So no, I don't think as a teacher that you can't have feelings.
Right.
We need to manage our feelings a little bit better as a teacher.
Mhm.
But like that doesn't mean that I have to come in here and be a goddamn superhero when it comes to I'm a human,
Right.
and they need to be respected and treated as humans.
Yeah, it's tough. Teachers have it tough now.
Just like a teacher shouldn't say anything hurtful like that to a kid should not say anything hurtful like that to a teacher.
Right.
That's not okay. And if a kid does something like that,
Mhm.
just like the teacher needs to be held to a standard of accountability, so does that child, whether it be, some type of social emotional learning, some type of therapy, right? Some type of positive programming that child needs to receive to learn that it's not okay to do that.
Yeah, intervention needs to happen.
Not that the teacher just needs to be taught. No.
So intervention started to happen. If you watch this video, towards the end, another adult came over beside the adult who was yelling at the kid and gently started to guide him away. That needed to happen on the other side too.
Yep.
Somebody need to pull that kid aside and debrief that situation. What you're saying to an adult, you should not be saying.
Yeah, and that's why I think we have to be careful with like snapshots of information, because the camera is on the teacher. We don't see what's going on with the student, and then maybe somebody is over there, right, and is trying to guide that person away. Because I've seen it by working in that situation, and then you have a child not listening.
Let alone
I'm not walking away, pulling away.
There could be other teachers there doing like this.
Yeah.
Quietly antagonizing the situation because it seems funny to them.
Yeah.
Crashing out is a big deal.
So I guess my guidance, listen, big homie, I think you got to recognize when you starting to get frustrated, and just recognize what you stand to lose. Because at the end of the day, you're the trained professional, and the responsibility and the onus is always going to be on the trained professional to be able to handle that situation accordingly.
You're the adult in the situation, so to speak.
You better.
Yep.
Have feelings, but manage your feelings better. So what say you? Right? We would love to, to hear your thoughts, about, how this situation could have been handled with a lot more grace and a lot more intentionality. What do you guys think? Is it totally all on the adult to handle the situation, or is this a shared responsibility, when it comes to, what needs to happen between the adult and the child to prevent this crash out?
Yep, absolutely. So share your thoughts on this video, because I know you have thoughts. So share it in our community and let's see what we can come up with, because the remedy for these situations that occur is for us to communicate about them.
Yeah, you can't heal what you don't acknowledge.
So with that,
I'm Jermaine Wright, your LPC.
I'm Doug Tillman. This was your Crash Out Report.
See you soon.